My brother, he worries about the weirdest things. It's really funny. We'll be playing golf together, and he'll be like, "Hey, don't park under this tree." And it looks like a healthy tree. And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because it could fall." And I'm like, "Couldn't any tree fall?" But he just he got overwhelmed by that. So I just moved over to the next tree. And but for some reason we can worry about those kind of things, like small things. But then we can also worry about the big things. Right? We know what the bills look like and we know what the bank account looks like. That's kind of a worry in that, right? Yeah. And you're like, where am I going to find this? Or maybe God has given you a dream and you've yet to walk in that dream because you've just been nervous about what's it going to take financially to walk out that dream? How am I going to make that happen? And my hope is that through this series, that not only are we seeing the vision that God has for our church, not only are we seeing the plan that God has for our church, but also would we be able to see the fact that God wants us to have more worship and less worry in our life. That as our priorities shift in what we are doing and as our priorities shift to be more kingdom-minded, that we will see that God has a plan and purpose for our life. And that's what I want us to look at the most in this. Now, when we come to a message kind of like this, and we begin to talk about the resources of the church and how God funds the church and prioritizing those resources, a lot of times there's this like anxiety, like, oh, here he comes. He's going to receive an offering at the end. No, I'm not. We already did that. All right. So I'm not going to receive an offering at the end. However, my hope is that you're inspired to live a generous life towards the Lord when you see how the kingdom works a little bit different than this world. You're not losing anything by giving to God. You're gaining so much more.
Amen.
And so I want us to unpack the scriptures about what it is when we worry and how God wants to take away that worry from you and give you peace. I read a story this week about a man that he had a heart attack and they rushed him to the hospital and the doctors got him stable and everything, but they would only allow 1 or 2 people into the room at a time because they didn't want to excite him. They wanted him to stay calm. And so what they did was they started to send one person in at a time. They're like, okay, this is working. For about a few days, he was doing good. And all of a sudden, his uncle passes away who had no kids and left him $10 million. And so they're like, how do we tell him? Now, he had to know of it because they needed a signature on something in order to get that money. And so they were like, how do you not excite somebody that you're about to tell them that they're getting $10 million? And so they're like, let's call his pastor. So they call his pastor on the phone. Pastor, can you help us out? This is what the situation is. Yes. And so the pastor's like, okay, how do I tell him without exciting him? How do I do this? Is this guy? And the pastor's coming in. He's worried about his own church.